Cashmaniacs.
GeoGearHeads.
It's time for another randomized edition of the GeoGearHeads, and one flooded with prizes. I'm Daryl W4 with the Bad Cop and special guest Scott Burks for episode 130, our 24th randomized show.
You know, I do like numbers that end in 0, and for those who aren't familiar, randomized shows are a collection of many subjects from a variety of sources. Usually, too many of them for a single show, so we're going to go into overtime with some special bonus additions for patrons.
Yeah, we certainly will this time too, but most of that extra stuff is really just more cool stuff and not directly related to location-based gaming. Some of the patron content this time is the news about George Lucas putting a museum in Scott Burke's hometown, wireless charging coming to a coffee shop near you, third-party chargers damaging smartphones, satellite imaging, and how Mini and GoPro are teaming up to make it easier for guys like Mr. Burks there to share videos of their trips along bike trails. That's a lot for our guest Scott Burks, so let's welcome him to the show.
Thank you, boys. It's always nice to be picked on by both men of your stature. I appreciate that very much.
Hey, well, that's what we do, right? Well, for those who don't recognize Scott, he's one of the co-hosts on the geocaching podcast and the former and soon-to-be again, but only for one show, I think, Chicago Geocacher podcast.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, the Chicago Geocacher podcast. I went for 4 years, ended in April. And, yeah, we're going to have one more episode, at least one more episode. It's recorded live from the main stage at the West Bend Cache Bash in West Bend, Wisconsin in August.
Very cool. I wish I could be there again this year. It's quite an event, and I'd love the chance to go caching with you in Waltigan. That was a lot of fun. But we got a ton of stuff to cover this week, including a pile of feedback from the GeoGearHeads.
Well, as we mentioned, this is an episode just jam-packed full of prizes. So before we give away any new prizes, let's get to last week's prizes and get those out the door. So the question for this week's show, which was the first commercially available Android smartphone?
In an act of true serendipity, Engadget did one of their Gadget Rewind articles on the HTC G1 right after we recorded last week's show, and that was the answer, the HTC G1 or the Dream, released way back in 2008. So, Scott, who won that 180-day membership to Project GC?
The winner of the membership goes to J. Corey C.
Cool. That is an incredible prize. You're going to love project-gc.com. And that gift code should already be in your email. But there's more. Now how much would you pay? 2 weeks ago, we asked what the name of the Going Caching event series was before it was changed.
You know, I'm told there was a huge number of people who emailed their correct answer for the prize. And the prize pack going from the Going Caching crew, that answer, Going Coastal, so named as its original location was near the Atlantic coast. So that lucky geocacher who will be getting the prize pack is T. Fulton42. Congratulations, T. Fulton42. Make sure you email geogearheads@cashmaniacs.com with your mailing address soon to claim that prize.
Now, I know you're really excited. However, that prize won't be available until October. So, T. Fulton42, make sure you have your mailing address to us at geogearheads@cashmaniacs.com to claim that prize by July 17th. Then we'll forward that information on to the Going Caching crew, used to be the Going Coastal crew, and they'll send it your way once it's available. Now, next up is a stencil pack from Cache at Night. But, Daryl, there's some news about Cache at Night, isn't there? They've returned as a sponsor to the GeoGearHeads.
They have, and we're thrilled to have them return. You know, we're fans of all the cool toys that they have there. Both Bad Cop and I have placed orders for toys like lasers, lights, night cache tools, but there's much more there too. Check out cacheatnight.com or click on the banner in our show notes for a look at all of those products and to place your order. We thank them for their support of the GeoGearHeads and for you for supporting a financial contributor of the GeoGearHeads. And I have the feeling that you might be placing another order soon after hearing about the cryptex on that last show.
Oh, man. I love a good container. But, as much as it appeals to me, I really don't have a place right now to hide it. So, now, John Robb from Cash at Night was kind enough to offer up the stencil set for one person who submitted their guess as to what BFL stood for. And there's really no wrong answer here. We got a bunch of the big frickin' light answers and some that aren't so family friendly. A few of the bunch of frozen lunatics. And, we got some that were really creative, like DeBear's Boys Forgetting Legalities. And somehow I feel DeBear focused that one at me. And I came up with Buying Fuzzy Lemons. But, there's another random drawing. So let's ask our boy who tends to forget legalities for the winning entry.
That winning entry was Bring Flashlight. And that was done by Kitty Catch. That's KITTYKATCH. They'll need to email GeoGearHeads@CashManiacs.com with their mailing address by July 17th to claim that prize to be mailed by Cash at Night.
Well, it's another randomized show, and that means we have another question just for those of you watching live. This time we have a geocoin from geocaching.com as first prize, and a pile of swag including some t-shirts, pens, stickers, and drink koozies for more than a dozen prize packs in total from Glimpse. So I'm guessing that that's just about all of you who are watching live tonight will be able to get something. Now, remember, this is only open to the live viewers. If you're not watching us live, you can't enter. Get that email to geogearheads@cashmaniacs.com with the subject Randomize 24 question. We need to receive that by June 26th, that's tonight, at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Pacific, so about 13 minutes from now, to be considered, and you'll have to keep watching to find out if you've won and have that email to claim your prize to us by 9 p.m. Pacific time or midnight here on the East Coast. In the body, we need some extra information this time, though. Of course, you'll need to drop your geocaching.com screen name. Since we only have a limited number of t-shirts, though, and they're only in a few sizes, that's the next bit of information we need. What size t-shirt do you wear? Then finally, we have a question to balance out the HTC G1. We want to know which iPhone model was the first to include a GPS chip. And the hint is that it wasn't the original iPhone, and the iPhone 3GS was the second one to include that chip. So anyone who knows the iPhone models at all will know right what that is. And, if you're watching, you can see it on the screen. So you have until 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Pacific time tonight to get us that email, and you must be here to claim your prize if you hear the name drawn. So make sure to stay with us through the end of the show, and you have to have that email if you did win by midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific. So good luck, your live GeoGearHeads listeners, or viewers actually. For everyone else, there's another question at the end of the show too, so stay with us through the end to catch that question to get in on next week's drawing.
Daryl, how much are you going to spend in mailing in this show alone? This is incredible, the things we're giving away. And I just want to give a hint for those listening. It shows that Steve Jobs can't count. You went from the iPhone, you skipped one, and you went to another one, and right in there you can show that he didn't count properly. So anyway, if you're watching us live, remember to send your feedback through the live Q&A. That's at the right side of the screen, so you can share. We can share that on the show. Now, there is a bit of a delay, so we might not get to it right away, and there's a ton of feedback already. So, without a delay, because, there could be a delay, let's get on to the first one. The first one comes from Christensen via email. In one of your previous episodes, you spoke about caching while traveling, and the point was about translation apps. By coincidence, I used a friend's CGeo on Android and found out that if you do a long press of the screen, you get a question if you like to translate. By clicking yes on the prompt, you select an app for translation. There's a number of free offline translation apps available on Google Play. So if you do not have any app, but just the internet, it'll automatically reroute you to Google Translate. How cool is that?
I did not know that.
That is, yeah, that is an awesome feature, and I'm glad to see that kind of stuff coming out of CGO. And that's one of the cool things, because CGO is that open source and does tend to stay clear of the whole lock-in of geocaching.com, GC numbers, and everything. They do seem to have some very cool stuff, and I have to say I'm not a big fan of CGO, but I am becoming much more enamored of its functionality and features since it's gone open source. Especially those of us who had it before it went open source got stung with things like the what do they call it? The scraping legalities.
Exactly. Scraping of the database, right?
Yeah. So a lot of people are kind of gun shy to try it again because of that. But since it has gone open source, it's definitely worth another look, and it's absolutely free. Yeah,
that's a price that I can afford.
Yeah, it's a really good app for not charging. They could easily charge for that app, and and it'd be completely worth it. It's a tremendous app. I love it. I mean, I don't even use it. My girlfriend uses it. I have an iPhone, but it's a great app. I really like it.
Well, there's your reason to go out and buy an Android, Scott, just to run CGO.
Never. It's you're saying blasphemy is what you're saying. Right?
So then you obviously know the answer to our question, don't you?
I owned it. Yes.
Okay, good for you. Sorry, I own the third model, not the second. Anyway, more feedback from Nighthawk 700, and when I say feedback, I feel Nighthawk 700 is really taking us to task on this one. He says, I don't know what gave you the idea that CacheSense won't let you use field notes. That's how I do most of my caching. I leave a few notes in CacheSense with each cache, and then at the end of the day, I email myself the field notes file and use that for GSAC. So when I find a cache, DNF, want to leave a note, or some other action, I put it in CacheSense in just a few quick notes. Then I save the note and make sure the drop-down says, do not publish. Now, after I do this for a day, I go to the main CacheSense menu, select Profile, swipe once, left to right.
No, right to left. Right to left, that is.
You're right. Thank you.
No problem.
If I read right to left, left to right, I would have gotten it right. So right to left to get to field notes, FN. And then you can do one to two things here. You can long press on the first field note you want. That field note is now highlighted. You tap on the other field notes you want, tap the center icon at the bottom to send. Instead of doing what I just said, tap the third icon, Tools, the hammer and wrench, select Export. This gives you more power in selecting what field notes you want. So in the first drop-down, you select Garmin Field Note. Second drop-down, you have Send to External App, other options such as Dropbox or an SD card. If you're using the second option there, the third drop-down is selecting which field notes you want. Then you press OK. Now, I set only the above options. CacheSense remembers your last sets. For an app, I select K9, but you can select your app of choice. It sends a text file with the current date and time as part of the file name, and you can change that if you like. If I have just a few finds, I upload this text file directly to gc.com field notes. If I have a bunch of finds or pictures I want to attach with the logs, I import that into GSAC and do my logging there. It may sound a little clunky, but really it takes me just a few moments to mail myself a field note file. And if I'm with a group, I just include them in all the email. And everyone has the field notes and it's good to go. You're going to want to listen to the show again to follow through those steps. It's not that complicated, but reading them through, you may not have caught along. So grab the download, listen to this again. You're going to use this.
Yeah, if you're a CacheSense user, that is.
Right.
Exactly. I think if you're
Scott's never going to use this.
Well, I use Wow, nice.
Well, you're very anti-Android, so I figured you're never going to use CacheSense.
No, never, probably not. No.
And
right.
I don't think you're going to get shorting itself of CGO anytime soon.
I will never get her off CGO. She lives and dies by it. Or lives and caches by it, should I say. How's that?
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Well, Brightblades also emailed in. Do you document your finds? For example, take pictures of the geocache, its contents, geocoins, trackables, swags, and or the places that brought you. Do you get ideas for future caches? Keep track of any of the trackables? Do you want to log later? Or because of the uniqueness of the container itself, and he says he loves ammo cans.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, exactly. And I did ask him a little bit about the tools, and we had mentioned we had done the show on Evernote, and his response was, I've never used Evernote, but I'm interested in it. I usually use Dropbox or Google Drive. Is there anything else that you'd recommend? Oh man, this is a whole show.
I would recommend Evernote. Is what I would recommend.
Yeah, Evernote is really a great way to do that because it does mix the mediums. He mentioned using Google Drive and Dropbox, in which each of those is you take the photo or scan, create a document, whatever, and drop it in there. It doesn't have that mixed media. It does allow you to get it across multiple devices.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a number of people I've talked with who are doing journaling, using like diary type apps to keep track of this kind of stuff. One of the popular things that I've seen is people doing trackables where they're actually keeping tracks of the unique locations by taking photos and attaching it to the dipping logs, those visit logs of the trackable.
Yeah, I mean, I use Evernote all the time. I have a whole puzzle cache database in Evernote, and what's great about it is that I have a double asterisk for ones I haven't gotten yet, and you can separate separate it by sorted. Thank you, by alphabetically, and the two asterisks automatically go to the very top. So it's nice. I always have my unfound puzzles right there at the top, and what's great is I can go to my computer, I can go to my laptop, I can go to my iPhone, and it just syncs right across. So I always have those those final puzzle chords right there on my phone if I need it while I'm out in the field, and it just makes it a lot easier, especially if I remember, hey, I remember I have a puzzle in this suburb, and boom, I pull up the chords and I'm on my way, going to get a free smiley, that I wouldn't have gotten if I didn't remember that I had the final puzzle chords. So it's a tremendous app. I mean, something I use every day. Same thing with Dropbox. It's another one I use every single day. I mean, it's become a part of my life, and I absolutely love it. It's the greatest thing.
Yeah, Evernote is a great way to do this. You have the tagging. I do the tagging rather than changing the name.
Mm-hmm.
So I have tags for unfound, unsolved, that kind of stuff, so I can just search
smart.
for all of those. Yeah. Now, the other thing is, did you realize that you can also geolocate those notes so that you can actually go into a show notes near me?
I did not know that, no.
Yeah, so if you're in the apps, you can do that, which is a very nice feature. And what I'll do is from the desktop version, when I solve that puzzle, I'll just go and copy the coordinates in and drop those coordinates into the metadata for that node, which is the little information icon on each one.
Mm-hmm. And
that lets you get all of that location information. You can just go into the, I think it's Notes Near Me. They've changed the interface so much that I can't remember the new name of it, but it will show you everything near me, and then you can just search for anything that's tagged with that I haven't found and see them right there on the map too.
That's great. Wow.
Yeah, that's a quick and easy way. I love Evernote. I love Dropbox. There was a time I thought, I need to take a picture of every cache that I found, and after about 4 caches, I realized, no, this isn't really what I want to do. So. No, I don't do that anymore. But I do take pictures when I go to a spot and go, wow, look at this. You're climbing a mountain and you get the sweeping view of the Northwest because, well, Scott, I can't see Chicago from where I am. And
you're not missing much, Chris. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. And, of course, I'll take a picture, and usually I post it. So you never know. Sometimes I take pictures, sometimes I don't.
All right, Native Texan just sent us some photos via Google Plus that are kind of disturbing of us on her big screen TV via Chromecast.
Oh, no.
We should never be seeing anything more than little postage stamp size, guys.
Exactly.
That includes in real life.
I do not have a face for high def.
But just a reminder to everyone who is watching us live, you only have about a minute left. And we can see that there's many of you have not submitted that live answer, and at this point, everyone is going to get a prize pack of some type because we have that few entries. So make sure to get your entries in the next minute or so if you want your chance to win. But at this point, we're going to move on to our next bit of
Daryl, it's really disturbing that Google Plus recognized my face in the picture she sent and wanted to tag it.
That is very disturbing because that means it's that high res that you can actually, see yourself. So yeah,
exactly.
So next we heard from Billy Robson, and he and I had been emailing back and forth about a possible solution to transfer GPX files from an iOS device to an SD card for use in a GPSR. He found the AirStash, which is a $100 thumb drive-like card reader with Wi-Fi, and he wrote in about that. Well, I have had the AirStash for a couple of weeks, and I am reporting that it works. All I had to do was download my Pocket Queries from my iPad to my GPS Map 62. First, I had to download iFiles and charge up the AirStash, which took about 2 hours of charging via USB charger. Then I take the Pocket Queries, put it into iFiles, and then into AirStash, which put it onto the microSD card. I put it into my GPSR, and there were 60 caches that were in my Pocket Queries. I have added a Pocketables article, which has the instructions and a YouTube clip on how to do it, and he does a better job of explaining it than I would. Keep the shows coming. So I did note all of that stuff, and those will be in the show notes, and it is a lot easier than it makes it sound from here. It's basically, once you get everything set up, just you're transferring files to the SD card, which happens to be in this little Wi-Fi reader.
Right.
And right after he sent us this, we found another possible option, which is the RAV-Power wireless hub. And that one's a lot cheaper, but we don't know anyone who's tried it yet, so it's another one of those pick it up at your own cost. But that thing looks pretty cool. And Bad Cop, I think you actually took a little bit of a look at that as well when I found this article.
I did, and it looked really interesting. Again, now I'm having to remember off the top of my head, and that's never a good thing. I want to say it was completely wireless, so you could access it from anywhere, or from any device. So you could do it from your iPhone, your iPad, which doesn't have an SD card reader. Go over the wireless, access the RAV Power, which was not only a SD card reader, but I believe it was a battery as well. Yeah, 3,000 milliamp hour battery for smartphones. So you need a battery and you need an SD card reader. You can put this in one thing. So I thought it was a great little deal to get files in and out of your iDevices. Not to mention the Android phones, which Scott will never use.
Right, exactly.
Never.
So yeah, I did grab a couple of their flashlight battery combos, and those are pretty cool. I really like those.
Well, what I'm trying to figure out is why would you need to get a something like that off of your iOS device?
Well, the whole question really has been, how do you go without a computer? How do you load that GPS without a computer?
Oh, so it's actually so it's going from, I see what you're saying. So you can bring the GPX file down to your phone, and then actually how do you get it onto your GPS?
Correct.
I
You could take a Wi-Fi only
So if you're
iPad
out
with you.
Yeah, so basically if you're out, more or less, if you're not sitting, you don't have a laptop and you're not sitting in front of your computer at home, what are you going to do? Question.
Yeah, and more often we're running into people who are ditching the desktop computers. No laptops, no anything. It's just the tablet and the phone.
Yeah, it's not a bad. I mean, $100 isn't too bad if you can just go with a tablet and a GPSR. And actually
I want to say that RAV Power is only like $60 or $70 on Amazon. So because it has the battery too, that's a really nice option.
Absolutely, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, Scott, we actually got a comment that is something that your girlfriend asked us about down at Geo Woodstock. So why don't we let you read that one?
Sure. Team Cross via YouTube asked, please tell me how to fix the compass on my Samsung S4, which never works. I've downloaded the GPS status app, and others, but nothing works. Yeah, now my girlfriend, Short Internets, has had a big problem with this since she upgraded her Samsung to KitKat, I think is what it's called.
KitKat, yeah, and this is
And
what
it's rendered her GPS virtually useless. So I totally feel your pain, Chris Cross. Team Cross. All she does is complain when we're out caching consistently, and throws her phone when we're in the field. She's very, very, very annoyed by it. She gets very upset and just tells me consistently how much she hates her phone. So
yeah, I don't doubt it. It's a really annoying problem from what I've seen and heard of it. And I've been kind of following this, and it seems like it is a KitKat only problem, and it only seems to be on the phones that were upgraded to KitKat. So sometimes just doing a factory reset works. Sometimes downloading one of these other apps, like you mentioned, the GPS status app, that works, and to keep it going. But talking with her a little bit more last night, it seems like what's really happening is when the screen goes to sleep, when the app is quit, whatever happens, switching apps even, it's trying to kill off that process to save battery or something.
And exactly, that's what it seems. Yeah, that's what it seems like it's doing. It's whenever she managed to figure it out, and I'm assuming this happens to Team Cross, is that whenever the screen shuts down or you get out of the app or something, like even the screen going blank, boom, it shuts off and it's completely resetting. It's got to go through the whole reset of getting the GPS back up, and it takes a couple minutes.
Yeah, well, and it's even a little worse than that on a lot of them, where it just never comes back correctly, and they have to actually reboot the phone and come back. So it's not a really predictable problem. It's one of those things that can manifest itself in several different ways, and it seems to be across multiple phones. I've heard people with the S3 have the problem, the S4, the Notes have the same issue. Any of the Samsung phones that got the KitKat update seem to be vulnerable to this issue. Not all of the phones have it, but it is that way. And a lot of people have gone into the carrier store and said, hey, this phone doesn't work, give me a new one. And as long as you've got the warranty or a carrier that supports their phone, they're doing that. And in every one of those cases I've heard about, it fixes the problem. So it is definitely something that doesn't follow a restore.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when she took it to she has Sprint, and she took it to a Sprint store, and they passed the buck to Samsung. Is what they did. They said it's not our problem, it's Samsung's problem. We can't do anything for you. It's a very frustrating problem. I mean, that's a horrible thing to have your GPS die, and in this day and age when everybody depends on their GPS, and to use it every day, it's a ridiculous problem that it's taking them way too long to fix, in my personal opinion. Because apparently it's been going on for a while now. It's not like it's been 6 months. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been months, but again, they have to go through all the carriers for approval. So even if they got it fixed, it can take months for the carriers to sign off on it. So I wouldn't say that they're necessarily ignoring the problem or that they're taking too long. It's another one of those issues where it's a carrier issue, and this is one of the reasons that things like the new Android One program that was announced at Google I/O just yesterday is so cool. But I don't think we're going to see it in the U.S. because the carriers are not going to carry any phone like that.
No.
They want the control over the, everything. They want the complete control over everything that's on that phone. And Apple is the only one with iOS that has gotten around that successfully. So sadly, I think the problem here is going to be just dealing with the carriers and getting them to do the update. Of course, I'm sure there's problems in locating what the bug is and getting it fixed, because if they had found it, they probably would have said something about it already.
I don't know. I mean, it's one thing that's nice about the iOS is that it's locked into Apple, and so anything that happened, they've had issues like that before. Not that kind of an issue, but other issues, antenna issues, that were fixed pretty quickly because it's locked into the iPhone, into the app, and that's into the iOS rather.
Yeah, they're delivering the updates. They're certifying the updates themselves,
right.
So they don't have to deal with it. And Apple has had more than their fair share of glitches, including.
Oh, absolutely, sure. Yeah.
Well, are you familiar with the daylight savings bug that keeps coming back?
Yes.
Seriously, How can they not fix this problem once and for all? They've had the problem at least 4 times that I know of.
I blame it on Y2K.
Right.
How is it that they have a reoccurring problem that's that simple coming back?
You know, it's probably so simple. It's probably so stupid, and it's literally probably a line of code. Is what it probably is.
Yeah, I'm thinking that it's just someone keeps going and copying in a line of code that it shouldn't have been copied in. Well,
they're not
version, but not in the next build.
Right. They're not saving it correctly, and so it's reverting back to the old one when they go for the new.
Maybe they should be using Evernote.
I don't think Evernote is a very good tool for building an operating system. Just
to keep all that code separated.
Right, there you go.
It's your code snippets tool.
Right, that's the best. That's the best app too.
Oh, Chris, you're kind of into some of these other weird phones, and The Verge actually was talking about some of these phones that are built to really be for us geocachers, the stuff that can take a little bit more abuse.
Exactly. The article says these phones will survive the apocalypse, which I think that's clickbait. That's over. Dramatizing what this is, but we're looking at phones that right off the shelf are waterproof, are drop resistant. They're going to be great for construction workers. They're going to be great for people like me who are clumsy, and even the occasional geocacher. But Scott's going to love them all because they're all Android phones. And no, not everyone. We're looking at the Samsung Galaxy S5 Active, and that one's completely waterproof. You've seen the TV commercials by now where they, drop it in the water. That's really nice to do that for a phone. I know when smartphones first came out, there was a company, and I've forgotten the name, that would take your phone and submerge it in a liquid, and it would, creep through all the parts of it and make it waterproof. You could then run it underwater. They ended up having heat issues and that, but the process is out there. You got the Kyocera Torque, the Casio GZ1 or GZ1.
I think it's G-Zone, but I'm not really sure.
The O is big. GZ1, G-Zone.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. That did not come out right. Thanks, Scott. I'm moving right on, Scott. You got to.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
B15 and the Noditz X1.
Yeah, a couple of those look like they're pretty pricey units, but certainly the S5 Active is a little bit premium version of the S5, and then you've got that Kyocera and the Casio that are not very expensive phones. But in order to get some of that ruggedness, you do give up some of the performance, and that's the nice thing about the S5.
Right, and I've seen the ruggedized phones before, and typically they're a version or two back. That's because in order to make them ruggedized, they have to get a lower temperature chip in the core of that phone, so you're not going to get the great performance out of a new phone. But, like I say, if you're in construction, you're out in the weather, you're geocaching, you're afraid to drop your phone, this really is a good way to go.
Yeah, I mean, for the iPhone, for the record, I know it's not on this list. I use a case called LifeProof.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys, which is just an app. I will never put another case on my phone ever as long as I live. It is the greatest case ever. Waterproof, heat, everything proof, sand-proof.
Will it survive the apocalypse?
There you go, dude. Same thing on mine there.
No, I don't keep mine on my phone. I don't like how it sounds, how the phone sounds through the case.
Which one do you have? I mean, I have an iPhone 5, and the iPhone 4 was terrible. 5 is much better.
Okay.
It's much better.
I'll have it, and I carry it with me. And if I'm going out, I'll slap the phone in that case. And, I'm sure it saved me a time or two. I don't know because I've never even challenged what the case can do. So.
I've challenged it. I've cashed in the pouring rain, and I've in all that, and I love it. It's such a great case. I love it.
Well, Wet Coaster actually said in the Q&A that he's got the Samsung Rugby, and it's very rugged. I'm not sure if that's actually one that's in production anymore, because I think they just discontinued some of those. But the S5 Active, we were saying that one's a nice phone because it's current technology. But here's the problem: is that one is not going to withstand the drops and being driven over by your bike or whatever. Most of these I don't think could survive a car. But the S5 Active still is much more vulnerable to that kind of stuff than are some of these other ones, like that cat one. The cat one you could probably drive over with a car.
Yeah, I think you could drive over it with a cat. But yeah, the S5 Active is water resistant. I'm not going to go as far as saying it's waterproof. You can drop it, pull it back out, and you're going to be fine. So, if you take it to the beach, it probably won't deal with the sand as well as some of these others, but it's going to deal with the water.
Well, let's move on to iOS and make Scott happier here, because we have a question from Brylang, who emailed us. I was wondering if you guys have run into a geocaching app for the iPhone that provides driving directions to a geocache. I know most geocaches aren't near a road, but being able to drive to the vicinity would be a great help. It would be even better if the app could provide directions to the nearby parking area via any additional waypoints provided by the cache owner. If you know of anything, please let me know.
Well, doesn't geocaching.com's app, doesn't that do that?
Well, none of the apps support driving directions in-app, but many of them will jump out to other apps, including many times to the additional waypoints. So like the official geocaching app does, from the full cache details, you tap the little 3 dots button in the upper right and pick View on External Map, and it will jump you out to the Apple Maps. Geosphere, which is my favorite, of course, has bookmarks pre-made for Apple Maps, Google Maps, Navigon, and Off Maps, which is one I'm not even familiar with. But something else we should probably talk about in a future show, we got too much stuff to talk about this time, is there are URL schemes for dropping things like coordinates into other mapping software, and because Geosphere allows you to make your own URLs with the drop-ins for the things like the coordinates, you could take and make any map program on the iOS device work with this. You just have to figure out what that URL scheme is. Right. Most of those guys will publish that. Mm-hmm. Looking for Cache Pro and Lite have the option to navigate, and you have to just go into the cache detail. Oh, and I should probably note with Geosphere, one of the reasons I like that one so much, you just set it for the target. So any waypoint that's associated with the cache, including ones that you've created, just set that as your target. Hit the bookmark to navigate to the target, and you can go into any of those mapping apps, and they're so much better than the official Apple Map or Apple Maps is if you go into like Navigon or any of those. Okay, back on track though with looking for cache. You have to navigate, then tap the waypoint, and select which app you want, and it's M app, another one I haven't heard of, Apple Maps, Google Maps, Navigon, TomTom, Nav2 Plus, again, never heard of it, Sigex, again, I don't really know it.
Yeah.
Sigex, yeah. And Waze, another favorite one. I know a few people in the live viewers today are going to...
Love my way. Love my Waze, man. A great app.
You love to go your ways?
Any app that shows you where the cops are is a good app in my book.
Yeah, you need that to avoid those LEOs.
Absolutely.
Would that actually work? Could you put an LEO? No, anyway, we need to move on.
Yeah, I don't think we'll let you put the cops in the middle of the bike trail.
Okay.
All right, the Caches app, which is the one that I've used for a while just for the notifications, the push notifications, new cache publishes. That navigates to the cache. You just have to tap the Open an External App button, and you can go to Apple Maps, Google Maps, Navigon, or TomTom. GeoBucket, which is another free one that's ad-supported. You can pay to get rid of the ads. You pick from the settings which one you want, and it supports Google Maps, Apple Maps, Navigon, TomTom, Sigex, iGo, iWay, GPS, Waze, MotionX, and MotionX GPS Drive. So the cool thing on that one is MotionX is actually like a regular traditional GPS replacement app. So if you've got that one, you can use that instead of having the full cache information up there and get some of your more traditional, better performance functionality out of it. But in GeoBucket, all you have to do is navigate from the cache page and you're done. So there are the options. Hopefully that answers your question, Briley.
It's a lot of options right there.
Well, Scott, there's some craziness happening in Chicago that we've got to talk about.
Isn't there always craziness?
And it's not
in
directly related to Scott.
It's amazing, isn't it? What the city I live in. Yeah. So earlier this week I saw this in the Chicago Tribune put it out that Chicago, I think over the summer, they're going to put sensors up to scoop up all the data from people's wireless devices. I think they're doing it on Michigan Avenue, as a matter of fact. I think it's where they're starting it. It's dubbed the Array of Things, air quotes, project is what it's called. Doesn't that sound like Big Brotherish? How Big Brotherish does that sound? The Array of Things. It's going to be curled metal fixtures that are set up to go on a handful of Michigan Avenue light poles. I was right. Later this summer, and they're looking like delicate pieces of sculpture. So basically, they're going to look like chandeliers. The lights are going to look like more or less like chandeliers. The first sensor could be placed by mid-July. Researchers hope this is how they get around this now. Researchers hope to start with sensors at 8 Michigan Avenue intersections, followed by dozens more around the loop by year's end, and hundreds more across the city in years to come as the project expands into neighborhoods.
Well, the thing that I liked about hearing when I heard this is it's going to give you traffic density of people and everything like that. So if they're going to open this up like they kind of indicate they're going to, you could get like a heat map of where everyone is in the city. That could be really cool to figure out when is the best time to go for that cache, when you don't have 100 people standing around you and pushing you out of the way.
If you're a nerd, it's cool. In every other sense of the word, it's intrusive, if you want my opinion.
Oh, it gets worse than that. I just read an article where they're actually going to start collecting cell data in the downtown area.
It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
They already track cell data in malls to find out where you're going, so...
Well, no, iOS 8's going to stop that. Did you hear about that with iOS 8? They're going to send up random...
I don't believe you.
Well, that's another story that we'll get into a little later. We'll save that one for the bonus show, the patron show. But going back to the life-proof case, Team Pugach actually posted that he needs a life-proof case to merge with Mophie so that he has a waterproof battery case.
Oh,
I completely agree.
Genius, absolutely genius. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
it would only cost about $800, but it's completely worth it.
Costs more than the phone.
Mophie does actually make an outdoor case for most of the current iPhone models, the 4 and the 5, but it's not waterproof. It's just more durable, dust-resistant kind of thing. So it is an option.
You end up getting like a 900 milliamp hour battery and a gallon Ziploc baggie. Make your own case.
There you go. Those things are great though. Those Mophies. Those are really, really good. I had one for a little while before I got LifeProof, and I got so spoiled by not having to charge my phone at all. I'd literally go the entire day of doing whatever I wanted with the full battery.
Mm-hmm. I had one for the 3GS and absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Didn't get one for the 5.
I've got some of the. I don't go for the Mophie ones because I've actually not had all that great of luck with the Mophie products. I mean, they stand behind them. They're great about that, but I just didn't have very good luck with the actual product, breaking, all that kind of stuff. So what I have ended up going with, and I've talked about it before, these power skins, because they're quickly interchangeable, and because they're these great little interchangeable backs, I just swap them in and out all the time, so I can go all day without charging ever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move on to another question from Team Pugach. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, and I apologize. From the live Q&A, who asked, "How do you set up the alerts for new postings in your area?" That is something that we've kind of touched on in some previous shows, and we are planning on doing a show on the FTF tech kind of stuff, so we're going to get into it more there. But just a quick, how do you do it? It's called notifications, and you can find that if you're a premium member. You have to be a premium member.
Have to be. Yep.
You have to be a premium member.
That's why you pay the $30 to get the FTX.
That and the pocket queries.
And the
Yeah. So you gotta get the premium membership, and then you'll have notifications, and that's how you set that up.
Do you get no pocket queries if you're not a premium member?
No, you cannot get pocket queries.
Really?
You can't get GPX files off the cache page.
Has it always been that way?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well,
I was never not.
10 years.
I think I was not a premium member for like a day. And then once I'm like, I like this. I'm gonna pay the $30. So I don't even know. I don't even know what the difference is between a premium and a not premium.
Just let your membership lapse, and you'll go. Now I know why I'm paying $30.
All right. Well, one more question that we'll touch on in the chat room before we get to some of the news stuff, and this comes from Wet Coaster. When you're out somewhere near a cache, but the people you are with don't cache, how do you go for the cache, or do you ignore it and come back later? And he also says in another comment, my wife and girls don't cache, although my wife recently joined geocaching.com. She has 0 fines, but is going to the block party with him.
Well, it depends on what mood your wife is in. If she's saying, if you get out of this car to go find that cache, you don't have to finish that sentence. No, I'm not going to go get that cache. If she's like, oh, that's fine, I'll wait here, you go get the cache. It depends on who you're caching with and their mood. When I'm traveling with the kids in the car, they're going to be okay for the first couple of caches. If I stretch that out and I want to stop at every quarter mile for a cache, it's going to get old pretty quick, and I'm going to end up buying ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
So what about for the block party, since they're going to be with him at the block party?
The block party, there's enough food vendors and things to see. You can leave the family at a table, go do your caches, and come back.
Yeah, that's a tough one to go with for somebody who doesn't cache. I mean, you're going to cache, if you're going to the block party. So going with somebody who's going to be like, I don't want you to cache. I mean, that's not really fair. Yeah, you should be like, I'm going to be gone, just so you know.
Well, and hopefully the block party, they do enough creative stuff that they'll enjoy the caches that are there. So hopefully they'll actually get a kick out of doing it.
Well, in the past, they've done not real caches. You go to this location and you get, a puzzle piece to this. So, it's like caching, but you're not actually using a GPS. And if you don't have a GPS, you just follow the crowd.
Yeah, I mean, I know Geo Woodstock had those fake kid ones, the not real caches. Yeah.
Yeah, but those weren't the coolness of walking around the city and checking out, the cool attractions, buildings, that kind of stuff. So it's great for the kids. And those kid caches were awesome for the kids if they're into the geocaching. But I think the way that Groundspeak does it at the block party, it's a little bit more Muggle friendly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they are in Fremont, Washington, which is the center of the known universe. If you can't find something odd and
I've never even heard of it. How can it
Fremont,
be the center of the universe?
They say they are. That's all that matters. They say they are the center of the known universe.
It's a security measure, Scott. They have to make sure that you don't know about it. They go through great effort to make sure that you don't know about it.
But I've never heard of it.
Right.
Millions of dollars a year, keep it out of his hands.
They've got a 20-foot statue of Lenin there. I mean, and a rocket ship on a building. If you
wait, John Lennon or the Russian Lenin? Which one?
Yeah, not the good Lenin.
And don't forget the big troll under the bridge.
The troll under the bridge, yeah.
Yeah, with his VW Beetle.
If you can't keep yourself entertained in Fremont,
you don't even know where it is.
you got nothing. You got nothing going on then.
So Scott, do you just disown anyone who's not a cacher?
What do you mean disown anyone who's not a cacher?
If you're not a cacher, you can't be my friend anymore.
No, of course not. But they know that if I'm driving by one and I want to get it, give me 2 minutes. Most of my friends know about. No, they all know about it. I'm saying most of them. They all know about it who don't cache.
As long as the checks clears, you still have friends.
Well, Native Texan says that this is a story for life. She can usually squeeze out a couple of parking grabs. Begging and bribery works for her too.
Yeah, that's where the ice cream comes in for the kids.
Yeah, in terms of the kid wise, kids surprisingly, I guess not surprisingly, I can't do parking grabs there. Unless there's swag and ammo cans involved. My kids want no part of it. You know, they don't want to drive up the park and grabs at all.
Well, West Coaster says that he's been married for 29 years, so he knows the limit.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Let the experience be your guide.
He knows the cash to upset wife ratio is what he knows.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Now,
All right.
Daryl, we've got another story that is on a topic that I absolutely love. It comes from The Verge. It says Google turns on its crazy modular phone in public for the first time. This is that Project Aura phone, build your own smartphone. Scott,
yeah,
you hate
yeah,
it. It's going to be.
I remember
out for you.
It's really they're gonna do it that, huh? Wow.
Well, it's
I remember
Google.
this, yes.
So, but I love that idea. You need a bigger battery. Okay, I can forego Bluetooth and
It's brilliant. Yeah.
speaker or whatever and slap in a bigger battery. Maybe I don't need a camera.
Mhm.
Anyway, so they finally showed it during Google I/O. It was a functional form factor prototype, which is a nerdy way of saying that it's still pretty basic. It booted and then froze. So when I say it's really still basic, there were connectors coming out of it that shouldn't be there normally, and it was still pretty cool to see it. So they announced a challenge for developers. It's a $100,000 prize for a working module that lets a phone do something that a phone has never done before, as well as a trip to Aura's next developer conference. So they're using capacitive interconnects and other new connectors to transfer data between modules. And if I'm right with Project Aura, those modules are being held in magnetically, which I think is really cool. Also, Android will need some, in quote, changes to support this modularity.
Yeah, as evidenced by the fact that the thing wouldn't even boot on stage.
It was a brilliant idea. It actually was. I don't think it'll ever come to fruition anytime soon. I don't think technology is there yet for that. But the whole take this piece off, put this piece on kind of thing was absolutely brilliant. It's brilliant.
Well, I think the technology will get there. I don't think we're that far. But that's, I think, why this, as the Motorola project, when Aura was part of Motorola, I didn't have a whole lot of hope for it. Now that it's a Google project, I think this might actually come to fruition because a lot of these, they came out right here and said it, that Android needs changes to its core to make it support this modularity.
This hot swap idea, yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder how long Google's actually going to do it before they say screw it and just build their own iOS list of software.
Well, I don't know about that, but I think it will allow a lot of other companies to jump into that cell phone market. We've got companies that produce great cameras, but not cell phones. You can produce just that cell phone camera.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
You can produce batteries, Bluetooth.
So now basically all you're buying is just a shell of a phone, and then you're buying separate little pieces from Kodak or whoever to actually. It's a brilliant idea. Yeah.
So you want a faster processor? You slap that sucker in there.
Your phone.
One of the examples has been like night vision cameras. Instead of just your regular camera, it'll be like a special infrared camera, or like microscopes and that kind of stuff can be just a snap-in module. And I'm thinking, you could even, as like Canon or Nikon, build in a special module that interfaces wirelessly to your DSLR, so you can use your DSLR as the camera.
Right. I mean, your phone will look like a NASCAR driver. It'll have logos just all over it. Like all the companies that make it.
But on the other side of Google's insane new phone projects, they had that Project Tango, which allows people to map with their tablet or their phone 3D spaces. So you can be walking around and it can guide you around your apartment. It can guide you around, things that you've never seen before. If you're like hearing impaired or visually impaired, it can give you audio cues, that kind of stuff. It's all pie in the sky because they're just now working with it. But they actually demoed the Project Tango tablet at Google I/O, and have partnered with LG to build a consumer version of it, which is going to go on sale next year. So we're actually going to see this thing.
Yeah. I thought that was really cool until Amazon released their 3D phone, and I thought, well, yeah, okay, it's a thing now.
Yeah, but they're totally different because
I know they're
Amazon's
different, but multiple cameras and it's getting to be a thing.
Yeah, it's like the next step, and this is I don't like Amazon's Fire Phone with its 3D interface. Best description I've heard of it so far was it's a hot mess.
Ooh. Is that like a Nintendo 3DS?
No, the 3DS was, from what I've seen of the Fire Phone interface, still a much nicer interface.
Yikes.
Well, I think we're going to
always go with Google Cardboard for your own 3D.
This is true, and there's already a bunch of people. Well, and now keep in mind the Project Tango doesn't have a 3D screen; it's doing 3D mapping of the environment. Right. And the Google Cardboard was, that old Stella Obscura idea where like the Oculus Rift kind of 3D total immersion, and even the Fire Phone isn't 3D on the display; it's a 2D display that simulates 3D interaction.
Right. But, I mean, you can build your own Oculus Rift type headset from a cereal box.
I have to I have to get the nerd poll and reel you guys back in, is what I got.
Sorry.
Good Lord, man. Reel the nerds back. Come on, guys. Come back. Come back.
We're gearheads.
All right. Well, guys, we've been talking about this stuff for almost an hour now, so I think we're going to wrap it up and move on to our patron bonus show. And Steven's Advent Item wants to know if Scott is cool enough to be part of that patron show.
I don't know. Am I cool enough? I don't know. Am I?
I think you are. You're definitely cooler than we are. We're just the nerds over here, right?
Oh yeah, you're not a nerd. You're by definition cooler than we are.
I'm a geek. I'm not a nerd. It's a huge difference. Huge difference.
Okay.
All right. Well, before we go, we've got to tell everyone who the winner is of the random drawing for that prize for the live show, which is at Coin, and that is Wet Coaster. So, Wet Coaster, make sure that you email us your address, and actually everyone who was watching live who sent us that email, make sure you send us that physical mailing address so that we can get your prizes out in the mail, because we didn't get enough for running out of prizes, and we'll have some more for the next show. But that's all we're going to be packing into this episode of the GeoGearHeads. We'll be hanging around a little longer, as we mentioned just a minute ago, for the Randomize Fund for our patrons. Thank you, everyone who's become a patron. And Patreon announced this week that they'll be expanding their staff and improving your experience. They're also talking about changes to the website shortly, and they're starting on a mobile app. So watch their announcements for more of those developments, and we're looking forward to being able to do more for you and with our patrons as these new features arrive. If you'd like to become a patron to support the show and get access to the bonus content, hit our website and click on that Patreon link to find out more and make your monthly pledge.
That support helps us bring all these great shows to you. But we want your feedback, including questions, comments, insurrections. If you want to be like Nighthawk 700 and take us to task, that's okay too. Now, send those, and those help us shape the shows coming up. The best way to do it, really, the best way, is to call into our voicemail line at 206-350-3647. Don't forget you can email geogearheads@cachemaniacs.com. As we've done on past shows or any of these future shows, we've got some great shows coming up. Now, we want your feedback for these shows. July 3rd, we're talking Travelers with the Bear. July 10th, Cruise Caching with Subway Mark. July 17th, Our Gear. We're talking about the gear that we use. That one has changed from the 3D printed maps. We're working to reschedule that. Daryl is a fantastic scheduler and gets all these people lined up. July 24th, another randomized show with a friend of ours, Land Monkey. And on July 31st, mega event planning with Dane of Team AZMO and Brawny Bear of Moga and GW12.
Well, we've already given away more prizes than any other single show before, but next week is a new show and needs its own new question. So get your email ready, address it to GeoGearHeads@CacheManiacs.com, and give it the subject Question 131. In the body of that email, include your geocaching.com screen name and your answer to the question, what imaginary line is at 0 degrees longitude? So send that in to GeoGearHeads@CacheManiacs.com by 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time on July 2nd for your chance to win another one of those 180-day memberships to ProjectGC.com. Remember, that's longitude, not latitude, but longitude.
That's right. So check the Cachemaniacs website at cachemaniacs.com for more on the GeoGearHeads, including show notes from this and all our episodes. We absolutely love hearing from our listeners, so leave us feedback by calling 206-350-3647, by emailing geogearheads@cachemaniacs.com, or through social media. Your support helps keep the Cachemaniacs shows coming, so please consider becoming a patron or making a PayPal donation through the link on our website to support the Cachemaniacs shows. Thank you, Cache at Night, for your financial support of this very episode. GeoGearHeads is produced by Chris Umfenauer and Daryl Wattenberg. The show's copyright 2014 by Daryl Wattenberg. All rights reserved.